Storm has crossed paths with some of the most powerful, bizarre, and deadly members of the Marvel Universe, including the focus of today's video, Dr. Doom. A meeting between the X-Men's Weather Witch and the Monarch of Latveria was sure to be nothing short of legendary, regardless of the outcome, seeing as Dr. Doom is one of Marvel's most ruthless and cunning villains. But by the end of this encounter, Doom would learn that while he is worthy of the title of Marvel Big Bad, there's always someone bigger and badder. Storm's encounter with Dr. Doom went down in Uncanny X-Men number 145 through 147, published in 1981. She actually stormed his castle, no pun intended, while leading a team of X-Men to rescue the villain Arcade. She enters in classic dramatic Storm fashion and demands to speak to Dr. Doom. Doom responds by revealing himself as the master of the castle. God, I just love how extra both of these guys are. I am Storm. I come in peace. I seek the master of this place. I would speak with him immediately.
I am Doom. I rule here.
Storm arrives literally in a bolt of lightning, while Doom just appears. Both of them speak in this classical, grandiose way, which is just peak Doom and peak Storm. While the other X-Men search Doom's castle in secret looking for Arcade and deal with his warbots and booby traps, Storm takes the diplomatic approach and wines and dines with Doom instead. They start off getting along just fine, and during dinner, Storm even expresses a keen interest in Victor. Now, whether she's genuinely attracted or just fascinated in a general sense, I'll let you decide. But she's clearly feeling the dude on some level. I mean, look at these eyes. Storm don't just look at any old body like that. But this wouldn't last. Turns out that this whole thing was just one big elaborate trap for the X-Men. Because of course it was. Arcade wasn't even Doom's prisoner. He was in on the whole thing. Storm tries to fight both Doom and Arcade, but she is quickly overwhelmed, and that's when Doom transmutes Storm into a living statue. He encases her with chrome, freezing her in place. He even replaced her with a custom-built Doom bot that looks just like the real deal. Meanwhile, the true article is frozen in what Doom hopes to be a permanent fixture of eternal youth, beauty, and fear. But unbeknownst to Doom, Storm is only physically frozen. Her mind is still aware of things going on and acting normally. And by normally, I mean she's freaking the hell out. You see, Storm's pesky old claustrophobia just wouldn't turn itself off even though she was trapped in chrome. The one true Achilles heel she's had since her inception has been her claustrophobia. And you literally cannot get more claustrophobic than being made into a statue. So while she's frozen in place on the outside, her mind is rampaging, and that's causing her weather powers to go haywire. Since her powers are tied to her thoughts and emotions, Storm being emotionally compromised is one of the worst things you can do to her, not because it depowers her, but because it removes her control. Storm prides herself on being in control of her emotional state at all times for this very reason. And while she does make an impressive, sexy statue, she's also causing a raging maelstrom to radiate outward from Doom's castle, one that's felt all over the world. Doom's impressed by the drastic change in weather and wonders if it has something to do with Storm. I wonder what his first guess was. But before he can investigate further, the other X-Men arrive and free her. They release her body, but they are too late to save her mind. And upon her release, she shows Dr. Doom, the X-Men, and the entire world just what she is capable of. As a rogue force of elemental energy, Storm lashes out at Dr. Doom and everyone around her, attacking people indiscriminately with the full extent of her powers. This vengeful goddess mode that she's activated endangers everyone present, friend and foe alike. Oh wait, apparently Rogue Storm has no friends. Now I want to take a moment and focus on these panels here, as at the time, this was the most powerful we'd ever seen Storm get. I mean, her rampage doesn't last longer than what looks like to be a few seconds if not minutes, but that's more than enough time to put the fear of the goddess into everyone around her, including old Doom himself. But that's only on the surface. let's dig a little deeper. You see, Storm's power level has been a hotly contested point of discourse within the X-Men and Marvel fandoms for years. Even to this day, there are people who dispute whether or not she's a legit Omega or beyond Omega level mutant, despite her official classification in the text a few years ago as such. But that really was just a formality, because this is the type of stuff that she was capable of even back in the day. I mean, can you imagine if Storm tapped into this form consciously? Even Chris Claremont himself confirmed that Storm's power, when fully tapped into, is on par with that of the Phoenix Force itself. And this uncontrollable rage goddess is proof positive of that fact. Keep this in mind next time someone tries to write off Storm's current power level as simply a product of modern writers who want to make her stronger than she quote unquote actually is.
Put some respect on my name.
Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, Storm's about to cause meteorological Armageddon. As Storm asserts her overwhelming dominance over everything, her fellow X-Men, Colossus in particular, reminds her of who she is. That she's not a vengeful goddess, but their friend and teammate. One who must conquer the raging force within and succeed where Jean Grey had failed with the Phoenix. The thought of Jean, who was dead during this point, triggers Ororo's consciousness to start taking control again. She flies up to the edge of Earth's atmosphere and struggles to control the raging storm, something that isn't easy as she must use caution and care to keep from doing so in a way that'll have an even worse effect on the Earth than what's currently going on. Unlike Thor, whose powers act independently of nature, Storm's powers work with nature. So she must be very careful to not disrupt the very delicate balance as she struggles to conquer her inner demons. The torrent speaks to her as she struggles with it. She fully understands now how Jean felt battling the Phoenix Force. Her inner demons and the power they hold offer themselves to her, beckoning her to take full use of them as is her right. But in the end, Storm triumphs. She calms the storm, both within and without. Falling from the sky, she's caught by Angel, who brings her safely to her fellow X-Men. Dr. Doom relinquishes Arcade to the X-Men's custody and offers his apologies for the events of the evening. An apology which Storm accepts, proclaiming that they're now on neutral grounds. The next move, whether it makes them friends, allies, or enemies, is completely up to Victor Von Doom. This is without a doubt one of my favorite Storm-centered X-Men issues. Not just because it shows how powerful and dangerous she actually is when she's not keeping herself in check, but also because it shows a great level of complexity for Storm. I mean, here she is essentially getting wooed by one of Marvel's most notorious villains, and seemingly wins, only to unleash a form of Storm that she didn't even know she had. And honestly, I feel like this type of story is something we don't get enough of these days. The fact that Storm essentially had all the power she ever could have needed, but had to fight to hold that back. It's a really interesting take that at her most powerful, she's also at her most dangerous, and because of that, she usually doesn't ever tap into that side. I don't think it's just a mere coincidence that we've never seen this side again. Now, we have seen a couple of times where Storm envisions herself at her full potential, I guess you could say, and the form that she takes is very similar. This is what I think full goddess mode Storm would look like. I don't know what it would take for her to get to this point, but if we ever see this Storm show up, I'd be here for that. But I'm okay without seeing Rogue Storm again, unless it's a specific instance where Storm has lost it again and somehow has to regain control. Because let's be real, this Storm is not the one you want to bring out during a fight. She's not just gonna KO the enemy, she's gonna KO the world. She'll fuck around and KO the solar system being like this. And last but not least, I do want to mention that in an issue of X-Men Red, they actually reference this very moment. This time it's Storm who's throwing a feast for Doom. He even claims that that wasn't him that did it back in the day. It was one of his Doom bots, and a faulty one, I guess, because the real Doom would never mistreat a goddess. What do you think it would take to see this side of Storm come out again? Do you think we'll ever see it again? And would it be a good thing if we did? Sound off in the comments below and let me know. And be sure to check out the next video to get more Weather Witch goodness in your life. And until next time, keep simping.